From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey, everybody, Rob Cairns here. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief digital strategist at Stunning Digital Marketing. This podcast, I have my good friend, Mr. Ross Brand, with me, talking about his latest edition in the 100 live stream and digital media predictions for this year. The book is now out, and I encourage you to go over to Amazon and get the book. Before we get to the show, this special episode is dedicated to Tiz Marrone for all the inspiration, the help, the support, and more, even in good and tough times. Thank you, Tiz. Now on to the conversation that Ross and I had. Hey, everybody. Stunning Digital Marketing is your digital concierge. We help you put the pieces together to make your marketing success. Specialties we have including WordPress design and development, WordPress security, which is one of our most popular offerings, ads, and more. So if you want to succeed in the digital world, go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and have a look at what we offer, and we'd be glad to help you. And let's jump on a call and make it happening. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. Hey, everybody, Rob Cairns here. And today I've got a dear friend with me and colleague, Mr. Ross Brand. How are you, Ross?
I'm doing okay. Getting excited. Book is launching today, and I appreciate you having me on, and also being a big part of this now. It's your second year contributing to the book. I know you've brought it to some talks that you've done, and so I'm excited to be on with you as we celebrate the launch today.
Yeah, we need to celebrate, because authors are a labor of love in this space, and most people don't get that, right? It's a lot of work. I mean, I think you came out, was it in August or September, where due dates were September, where you asked for stuff? And I made no bones. We both went through some trials in our lives. So I won't get into them, but I put out a tweet out there the other day that I have nothing to thank Tiz Marrone, my other half, for support in getting my work done, not just on the book, but in everything else I do. She kind of inspires me every day, and I was pretty vocal about that. I did a show earlier this week, a solo show, because I'm coming on episode 500 too, by the way.
Wow.
All in the same 2 weeks.
Wasn't it just 400? Didn't we just celebrate 400 like a couple days ago?
No, last February, and we'll be celebrating 500 very soon.
Wow,
so,
you're moving fast. You're moving fast.
So let's talk about the book.
Okay.
Got 100 new predictions, thereabouts.
Yep.
So say I'm honored to be in those 100 predictions again. Whether I had anything intelligent to say or not this year, who knows?
Right.
What is telling with these types of predictions? You've done this for many years now.
Yeah, so this is the 10th year of the predictions and the 5th year that we've done it in book form. And I think if you look at this year, last year, and the year before, this is the era of AI. It's called like live streaming and digital media predictions, but it could just as easily be called AI and digital media predictions, because I'd say a couple of years ago, it was a fascination, and early adopters were kind of, happy to throw around the word AI, and some people saw where it was going a little bit, but it was the early stages. Last year, it seemed like everybody had an opinion on AI. Everybody had a thought on maybe how we could use it or what we could use. And now this year, I think you start to get to some scenarios, and I don't have any that like right off the top of my head that I'm going to give you, but people are getting creative, and they're also some of the people are really ahead of the curve, and they're already doing it. But now it's gone beyond just like, oh, I can ask ChatGPT a question, or, I can get my transcript and some show notes for my podcast. It's like, okay, this is a major asset in my workflow. And also, this could be a major problem for me, my industry, my business. So I think, as this thing becomes now a bigger part of all of our lives and an inescapable thing, I think having people who are on the forefront of it giving their breakdown of what they see coming, how they've already integrated into their strategies, is all valuable. But I don't want to give the impression that this is an AI book, because AI is one of many tools in the digital media space that we use either to create content or to advance our business objectives. And so there's a lot of other subjects that are covered in the book as well.
No, I agree with you about AI. AI is interesting because I know in my business, I'm all in with Gemini, which is a Google product for those who don't know.
Right.
I've been playing around with Notebook LMN very much so, which is Google's note-taking package. It does some really cool stuff. I've even used AI, interestingly enough, you talk about AI. I've sold customers email sequences where AI has written like 80% of the work and
Right.
things like that. So for me, it's a big part of my workflow. And I agree, but there's some other stuff going on. I mean, you can go to social media and look at regulation and deregulation. We all know the issues with TikTok, and they're still kicking around to this day. I
Right.
mean, that one's never going to go away. I don't know if you know the latest one with TikTok. The Canadian government forced them to close their Canadian office
Oh.
a couple months ago. So they still operate in Canada, but they don't have an office here because of the government. We've got that changing. We've got demographics changing on social media, depending on what demographic, where you go, right? In the digital space. Like the old adage, everybody fucks to Facebook. I think that's pretty well gone now. You say, Russ?
I would say Facebook is the parents and grandparents. TikTok used to be the kids, but now TikTok has become fairly mainstream. Although there are certainly plenty of people in business and in content creation who have done very well for themselves without ever, stepping foot into the TikTok environment. But it's certainly a major factor. And I'd say more than anything, it's an influence on the other platforms. Because of the way TikTok works, even if you never use TikTok, it's going to change the way you strategize, how you create content, because it's made everything about that individual piece of content, the potential for virality, even if you don't have a big audience. So it's been kind of a playing field leveler in that it used to be a big part of how you succeeded is you built an audience, and then they're going to consume your content, or they're going to see your content, or your content's going to be pushed to them by the platform. Now the platform is sort of working more like YouTube works, in that it's like, let's see if we can find an audience that's interested in this content, and let's evaluate it quickly and determine if it has any legs or not. And so YouTube has been affected by TikTok, but all the other platforms are becoming more like YouTube and TikTok, in that, your next piece of content success isn't dependent on your last piece of content or your audience. And that's all based on the way TikTok has revolutionized things.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I would agree. The other one that's revolutionized things is Instagram to some degree. I find that I spend more time on Instagram now than I did a year ago. One of the reasons I do is I follow a lot of self-help stuff, content producers on Instagram. So, and Instagram Reels are kind of where it's at for me. So, they're kind of invaluable. And those short forms of content, frankly, the average person doesn't have time to sit down and watch a 90-minute video. They're watching shorts. Let's be frank, right?
Well, on Instagram they are. On TikTok they are. and increasingly in parts of the YouTube audience, people are. And you can thank those changes in Instagram as well to TikTok. And
Yeah.
again, I'm not saying this as somebody who's particularly active on TikTok or who's even completely comfortable with TikTok, but the reality is it's been a game changer, and Instagram went from nice photos and some nice square video clips from your show to being a TikTok like platform. Perhaps some of the extremes that you see on TikTok, some of the political pontificating and things like that aren't as deeply embedded in the culture of Instagram as they are in TikTok. But clearly, the fact that Reels is like everything now on Instagram, and that's how the platform has gone, because they really struggled with what to do with video until they went to this very short form. And I think you're right. Short form for so many people now across all platforms is the content they consume, where it's like playing a slot machine. You pull down, you let go, you swipe, and hey, I got another one. This could be the funny one I'm looking for. This could be, and it's 30 seconds and on to another one, 5 seconds and on to another one. I think the platforms, well, particularly Instagram, is trying to get people to do a little bit more longer form rather than a 2 second where they get 1,000 views just based on people didn't get to click to the next thing yet or whatever.
I agree.
But I do think that long form in particular video podcasting also is having a major impact on the culture, on politics, on how people consume content, because while the shorts and the reels and the TikToks are all about your mobile experience, more people are also watching YouTube and other platforms on TV. And when they watch TV, they don't necessarily want to keep scrolling. They don't necessarily want to watch either a how-to video or, a 5-minute how-to or whatever. They want to sit there and get engrossed in a conversation and feel like they're hanging out with people. And that's where video podcasting comes in. So that's the other side of the coin. And video podcasts can go half an hour, 45 minutes, up to 2-3 hours in some cases. Yep. And, it's something I believe strongly in, that there's opportunity. And it's a great way to, get people to, it's so cliche, but the know, like, and trust factor. If you're in business and if you're entertaining people, it's a chance for your personality to shine front and center.
Oh, I agree with you. I've picked business up directly from doing this show. I'm sure you have over the years on doing your shows. We both have. And I think what makes the digital world interesting, and it's really funny. I've been in digital space since I've been 15, one way or the other.
Wow.
I was an early online adopter. I mean, I've done everything from the old CompuServe to FidoNet in the BBS world to you name it. I've done it all. And one of the things I see is cost. And his cost has come down. So, we're all buying laptops for under $2,000 now, most of us. If you're in the Windows world, you get a good Windows laptop for about $1,000 Canadian now. That's changing a little bit because AI is forcing us to put more memory in those laptops. I hate to say it. There we go again.
Right. But you can get Mac Minis, even Mac Studio for under $2,000, which will do pretty much anything you need in the creator kind of world for the most part.
And we're all getting big hard drives now, and we're all getting good mics that we're not spending a lot. We're basically putting studios in our houses for pennies on the dollar, right?
Right. I mean, I remember when you had to pay a fortune for like a 250 megabyte, mini SD card to put in your camera or whatever, just so you could get enough photos before the end of the football game or whatever. And now, you can buy, 20 gig, whatever for $75 or something. It's just ridiculous how inexpensive it's gotten.
When I started at my first year in healthcare, which would have been 25 years ago, we were buying 540 megabyte hard drives. So we're not even talking a gigabyte hard drive, and we were paying $600 Canadian for them. So there you go. That gives you an idea, right? And it's just storage is like king, and it has to be because we're all doing video now, and video takes up space, right? I mean,
Right, right.
so it's really interesting watching the evolution. And you know what really hasn't changed in the digital evolution? Email. Email is still based on the old standards, and people still try and send videos by email, which is the worst thing you can do. Put it somewhere, right? But
Embed an image, a thumbnail or whatever, and let people click on through to the video.
right?
But I think you're absolutely right. In fact, the more things change, the more they stay the same, and a lot of the people having the most success from a business standpoint have stuck to the fundamentals of email, or they've reinvigorated their approach to email, which means, it's not your grandfather's newsletter. We call it a newsletter, but it's a totally different form of communication. It's not like, hey, buy this from me, buy this from me, buy this from me, and this is on sale, buy it from me. It's storytelling, it's engagement, it's teasing what's to come, it's clips from what's happened. It may be basically like a newspaper column and then hooking it up with platforms like Substack and other community platforms. And that's the other side of email, whether you're using something like Substack or you're using, a Mighty Networks or a Locals or something like that to build a community. You're going around the social media algorithms, because when you put something out there, it's going to be delivered to everybody. And the ease of use of these platforms has gotten to the point where you really don't need a lot of technical knowledge in order to, get your work out there, get your ideas out there, connect with people, build community. Audio and video tools are often built in and easy to use. So I think there's that side. It's like there's also a life outside of social media, and that life outside of social media may be where business is really happening, unless you're running ads, which seems to be the best way for a lot of people. I'm not, I don't do a lot with ads on social. I don't do anything with ads on Amazon, which is probably a mistake when I'm trying to sell books. And that's, maybe I should be doing YouTube too. These are areas I've got to look into where, I've just always kind of been like, hey, I'm all organic. That's me. If it doesn't work organic, well, then, I boosted a Facebook post here and there when that really didn't mean all that much, right? Like, you could get a whole bunch of views overnight from a foreign country or whatever on your video. And I'm like, okay, that's not worth anything. But I do think these are pay to play platforms, mostly your social networks right now. And depending on where the cost and benefit is, I wouldn't say that it's a bad idea to consider that if you're trying to get traction, because that's how the game's being played right now. And if you want to win, you've got to look into things that work. But that's another area. I know I'm going on a little long on this, but okay. Amanda Robinson wrote a chapter about how the way we do targeting is going to change, because you're not going to have access to that type of demographic information about your audience anymore. And so if you become an expert in targeting, really drilling down to find that, to get your content in front of people who fit the avatar of your business, that isn't going to be the way. It's going to be a wider net that you're going to have to cast probably going forward. So what that's going to do to advertising, there's just so much going on. It like I say in the first line of the introduction, I say something like, it all seems so quaint in going into 2016 when we first did this, and Facebook Live hadn't even launched yet, and stories were told around campfires and
Yeah. And we were all broadcasting stuff on Google Hangouts on air back then.
right,
Remember?
right.
You
Or
know?
Blab or
Yeah.
Periscope. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's so many intricacies, and I think that's why this book, even though last year's book talked a lot about AI, this year we get back to some of these different changes that are coming because of the political and social and economic environment that creators need to be aware of, and anybody in business has to consider. Because if you keep doing things like the old way, the platforms, their algorithms, their rules, and all that have changed, and what worked 3 years ago or even last year may not work now.
Yeah, it's no longer the old days where you could write a blog post and take that blog post and post it on Facebook and you would get traffic. That worked at one
Right,
time, 18 years ago. And now, I've got a client who's got an e-commerce store and he keeps complaining he's not getting enough traffic. And I keep saying to him, so when are you investing some money in ads? Well, I don't want to. I don't want to be a marketing expert. I said, then you might as well get out of business or pay somebody because it's hit the point where you need to do some work. And with the algorithms on social, you do got to go to some paid concept. You got to start to look local. So many things have changed, and this industry is evolving. And that's why I like these books. I mean, because you can go back and look back 3 years and look at what's changed, and then look
right,
at
right.
hey, what's going on, right? So,
And I talk about one of the things I do. I don't actually do predictions. I tend to write an intro in which I
yep,
kind of summarize the trends and where things are going. But this year, for the 10th year, I talk about 10 principles that I think ground people for success that I've acquired over the 10 years of doing this. And more, this principle that I think I lead off the list with is build community from day one.
yes,
And, it used to be building community meant posting a lot on social media and people
no,
follow you, and then you have a community, and then you can always consider doing other things. Now you need to move people to places where you actually have access to them. And that means your email list, that means a Substack or a Locals or a Mighty Networks. And I honestly don't think even Facebook groups are a great option anymore because they limit within the group. You've got to get around the algorithm. And the way you do that is you cast your net out on social media, but as soon as somebody's digging what you're doing, here's where you can get more of it. Just join my Substack, sign up for my email list,
yep.
join my community on Locals or Mighty Networks. I have a
My
mastermind group, or I have a membership. For $5.99, you get 10 videos a month on how to optimize XYZ or whatever. You have to have something like that because it's not just about revenue, although these are probably really good ways to monetize now, but it's about setting up a system where you can reach people, and the people who are most interested are the ones who are going to benefit and really take that next step. And so monetizing your content, for example, doesn't necessarily mean 20,000 followers on Twitter. It can mean 50 people who love your stuff and are willing to pay $5, $10, $20, $100 a month, whatever you're charging, depending on if it's, a one time a month behind the scenes, or it's a 10 course bundle that they get, or whatever you're giving out. But you've got to think of, what can I do that's above and beyond for the strongest followers, the strongest members of my community, and how do I offer them a place where they can talk to one another and they can engage more deeply? Because I'll tell you, I'd rather go straight into a community. And I'm not talking about Facebook groups, which are not what they were advertised to be 5 years ago or whatever. I'm talking about one of these communities where I know people are going to be talking about something of interest to me, rather than hope that it comes across my feed on social media.
Yeah. I would agree with you. I think community is everything, and I find that we talk about Facebook, and I find personally I'm pulling back more and more on Facebook. I spend less time there. My family hates me, by the way, for that, but that's not the point. I don't post pictures there. I don't post anything there. If anything, I might post the odd picture on Instagram, but I'm really at the point. I'm back to where I was 15 years ago, where I have a personal website and I post stuff there, and if people want it, fine it. They don't want it, fine. But I'd rather have control instead of dealing with the algorithm, right? So that's
Right. So I mean, I'd rather any content that's substantive that I'm going to do, whether it's a podcast, if it's a video, even if the video is housed on YouTube, it's an article, a blog post, a newsletter, an email that's not just a marketing email, but has, some substantive content in. That's all going on my Substack. Like, here's one place to go and connect with me and get my content. You'll never miss it there if you subscribe. Right now, it's free to subscribe, but for anybody who's thinking about how they monetize, platform like Substack, it's built right in. You can charge for access to certain pieces of content or provide certain benefits. Think Patreon, married with a I don't want to say Facebook group, but it's a combination of Patreon community and email. I mean, and it's a wonderful place for building a community if it's not going to be the kind of place where you're want to have gatherings, right? I mean, but you're going to put content. You want to have a place where it's just all ongoing discussion about you or whatever. Then you look at like a Mighty Networks or you or your topic or school or locals or something like that. But I think all these type of platforms that we're talking about here are going to become much more well known across the digital space as time goes on. Maybe not these specific ones, but somebody's going to get all that stuff right. And Substack has some social. It's got some sort of like X Twitter feed thing with notes, and you can host your podcast there. And so I think somebody's going to come up with the right mix between social and access to your audience and monetization, and that's going to be the breakout star of, I don't know, 2027 or 2028 or something like that.
I think it's coming sooner than that. So,
Right.
in the interest of time, what I would say is go get the book. Number one, I'm going to be selfish because I'm in the book, so go get it. Go get it now.
You have to get it now.
You have to get it now. What I would suggest is jump on the day one sale because you are selling it for 99 cents.
Yes.
And I would encourage anybody, get the Kindle version, but also go get the paperback. I have both. And I just find when I'm out and about and I want to reference it, it's easy because I have the Kindle app on my iPad, but I prefer a regular book in my hands. So there you go.
And the paperback is actually $12.99 right now. It's US. It's typically $19.99. So if you're thinking you might want the paperback, now's a good time to jump on that. But of course, 99 cents, you can't beat it. So today's a great day to get the Kindle version for sure.
Yeah, and read it. And then what I would say to you is, if you haven't read the previous editions, go get those too because they're still worth it. And go follow Ross on X, probably
Substack.
is Substack. Yeah,
rossbrand.substack.com. X
funny.
is great too, at iRossBrand on Twitter.
And
or
I would
X.
And I would say Ross and I moved to Substack right about the same time as quite ironic, actually. So,
yeah. My output is slowed a bit with the book launch and Podfest coming up in another week, but I'm definitely committed to Substack as a place for 2025.
So am I. And go support Ross. He does some great work, and he loves to answer a few questions. So, welcome.
Thanks for having me on, Robert. Thank you for contributing to the book, for promoting the book, and just
pleasure.
being a good friend, and I always enjoy talking anything from the digital world with you. It's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks, Ross. You be well and take care of yourself. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you very much for listening to the SDM Show. The SDM Show is brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, your digital concierge. For all your digital marketing needs, especially WordPress security, jump on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and let's help you put the pieces together and make your business succeed in the marketing realm. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. A very special thank you to Ross Brand for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I love you. I miss you very much. And thanks for all the inspiration over the years and your caring, your understanding, and helping me grow as an individual. Thank you, Dad.